Happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. It's time for another edition of Fast Break Bets. Two more NBA Sunday games to discuss today. So here we are with you, Erik and Gino, to take you through the next game in these NBA semifinals in the conferences. So we have the Knicks and the Pacers today. That'll be the first of the two games that we discuss. Then Denver and Minnesota a little bit later on tonight. Both of these series are 2-1. Erik, right now in the opening series that we'll talk about today, the Knicks trying to go up 3-1. Indy trying to tie the series. They're a 5.5-point favorite. So as far as these games are concerned, for me, one thing I learned early on as a gambler is don't force it. And you don't feel like you need to have a bet on every single game, every single race, everything that you're watching. Erik, with the way that the injuries are for the Knicks and the way that like some of these props are set, I have no idea what to do in this game. Like I have no play in the Knicks Indy game because I can't get a feel for it because I'm looking at, Brunson's numbers and DiVincenzo's numbers, and Harkenstein was even someone. They're priced so high because of some of the injuries that they're dealing with and because those guys are playing so much that to me, those numbers seem a little bit off. The problem is they're hitting those numbers that are highly priced because they don't have other options out there.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like I'm in a real standstill. When I start hemming and hawing, you know what I do? I just say, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll just sit back. I'll watch this game and I'll see if I can get sort of like reset on the series, because sometimes that happens where you kind of lose your way and you're not exactly sure what to do. So help me out a little bit here, Erik. How are you going to approach this game today? We've got the Pacers as a 5.5-ish point favorite or so.
All right, so I took, I took the Pacers. I laid the 5.5. I look at it like this. Pacers are allowing 27 3-point attempts per game. And the Knicks on those 27 attempts are 39 for 80. That's 49%. Against the defense that is allowed in the Pacers, only 33% from deep on the season. And they only are 37%, the Knicks, from deep. To me, this is just a shot regression thing. We know there's going to be the shot regression game for the Knicks where they're not making shots. I think it's today.
DiVincenzo was 7 for 11 from 3, right?
Yep.
Last game.
DiVincenzo out, OG out. Hockenstein is limited. Knicks aren't getting second chance points. Brunson, you mentioned, well less than 100%. Now,
Hart too.
Hart is probably living on by a thread because he's running all over the place. The trend I found, though, is this. Teams that won game 3 that are favorite in game 4 are 55% against the number, positive ROI. And I kind of feel like we haven't seen like the peak of the Pacers yet. I kind of feel Halliburton's starting to get used to the playoffs. And the Pacers are due for some shot regression. Shot regression comes from tired legs. I think this is it. I'm going to take the Pacers minus the 5.5. And look, maybe I am just a grumpy old man, but DiVincenzo's over-under is 23.5. I cannot live in a world.
I know. That was the one that I was going to attack because I was going to go under DiVincenzo. I just keep looking like this, the part of the year when they were playing without Anunoby, he was shooting so much and just getting so many shot attempts. Like he might just get that many shot attempts. That's my only concern. He might have a bad game and still just get to 22. Like we could look back and be like, you're right, Erik. He had a horrible game. He shot 35%, but he took 28 shots. That's what's strange about where we are right now. Hey, I will say I hate the Lakers. I was saying it before. If we're ever late, it's 99.9% of the time not Erik's fault because Erik's always ready to rock and roll. We both do have other jobs, other work stuff. So sometimes I'm dealing with other things. And if we are, certainly apologies because we'd always like to keep it as the same time as possible. This was regarding yesterday's game. Tatum 2 for 2 to start and 0 for 6 from deep after. Yeah,
I lost 2 player props yesterday by a half, so that was fun.
A couple brutal ones. Anything else do you want to mention in Indy and the Knicks?
In terms of the DiVincenzo look, 51% from the floor, 53%, 56% during the series from 3. The previous series versus the 76ers, 36% from the floor, 36% from 3. The season, 44% from the floor, 40% from 3. His career, 43% from the floor, 38 from three. Career in the playoffs, 41% from the floor, 38% from three. He is due for shot regression. I think it comes today. So I'm on Dante DiVincenzo under the 23.5.
Let's get to the second game. We saw the Denver Nuggets bounce back with a big performance in game 3 of the series. The rumors were that Denver sent a video with hundreds of plays that they thought should have been called fouls to the NBA league offices and circled and highlighted all these different plays. You could tell that the game was officiated differently. And honestly, I will say, as a fan of the NBA, I do think it's pretty bull that Jamal Murray wasn't suspended for that game, because that's the type of thing that in a different situation, he's getting suspended. But you didn't want to take him out of a game 3 in a playoff series where it would have put the Nuggets down 3-0. And I understand, right? You want to have an entertaining product out there. But man, the Nuggets, if they come back and win this game today, you would feel really frustrated as a Timberwolves fan, because you had them broken in game 2 to where their team couldn't even, like, Malone is running on the floor, literally trying to get thrown out of the game to get his team sparked. You've got Murray, who's can't even control himself, throwing stuff, and they were able to get away with it, kind of get a mulligan to come back and give themselves another opportunity. All that being said, I think Minnesota fires back today. I think you're going to get the bigger Ant game. He talked about how he was disappointed in himself. Erik, I think this happens, man. We're humans, even the best. They were probably reading some of the clippings for a few days, right? Everybody was talking about how the Nuggets are done and the Wolves are the new team and Ant is Michael Jordan. And, you hear that for a few days. And I think that we got that big punch back from the Nuggets. I heard Malone say something like he put an edit together of all of the media. Did you see that? Of all the people in the media saying that the Nuggets were done. The Nuggets have no chance. They're over. I don't know if you can have an edit for that every time. I don't know if you have 20 more of those to play, but I think this will be where you get the better effort from Minnesota. So talk to us, Erik, about how you're approaching this game today. What props or any sides that you have? Minnesota Nuggets 2-1 Minnesota right now.
Excuse me. For me, I really didn't know what to do in this game, so I didn't really play a side. I feel whoever wins this game is probably going to win the series. So I attacked it with 3 player props. Player prop number 1. Went back to the well again. Alexander Walker over 10.5 points, rebound, assist. Worst shooting game of the series. Worst shooting game of the playoffs. He averages 7 rebounding chances per game in this series. And last game he had 0. Was that just because is that bad luck? Is that the bounces off the rim weren't going his way? Or is that more with the philosophy? I think it was more just the bounces not going his way. Then he's due for some positive shooting regression. The fact that he went under this total and the books didn't adjust it at all, and it's still that
shows you
going over the 10.5 is still the favorite. I got this at -115. I think that's still a side. Because of the defense, he's going to be out there 30 minutes a game, so he's going to get a lot of opportunities. So I played him over the 10.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Next one I went to. Now, this one was hard because I really wanted to be invested in Naz Reid. I was going back and forth between over 1.5 threes or over the 10.5 points. I ended up going with the 10.5 points because it was juiced to +102, so I can get a little positive, a little more money. He went over 10.5 points this season, 46 games. He's shooting 41% from 3 at home, 42% from deep on short rest, averaging 5.7 threes per game on short rest. So when there's less rest, he actually shoots better. Last 5 games, he's gone over them all 3 games. He's due for some positive shooting regression. I just like him, and I didn't play the threes just because he's only going to get 4 to 5 attempts in the game. So I'd rather have the opportunity for the points, just because if he does go 1 for 4, but he still gets some rebounds, some second chance points, he can go over this total. So I played Naz Reid over 10.5 points at +105. And the last one, and this one is grimy. I went Justin Holiday over 6.5 points.
I like those ones, man. I love those ones. The low, because you feel like the size wise, he just has to be out on the court a little bit more in this series, right? This is a series where he has to match up more with some of their wings. They've been throwing him on Ant even, right? Like trying to play defense there. So I completely agree. We see this in playoff series, like in a playoff run. One series, you have to go a little bigger. One series, you have to go a little smaller. They need to throw him on some of the wings just to kind of help deflect the size, and they need to throw him on Ant to help eliminate some of Ant, his explosiveness. So I like that one quite a bit, Erik.
17 for the series. His minutes have decreased every single game since game one. Shot attempts decreased every single game since game one. He's this piece that the Denver needs just because of what he can do defensively, be able to guard multiple positions. So over the 6.5, I mean, his point total is 3.5. You could play that, but I went with the 6.5. You can get it plus 105.
Yeah, I have actually 3 plays in this game. I talked about the Timberwolves. I played them minus the 2.5 just overall on the game. And then 2 plays. And a lot of times, Erik, they seem really basic, but that's why you and I really like playing the NBA playoffs. When you're watching all the games and paying attention, you get a feel for things. And watching Jamal Murray last game. So Murray shouldn't have been playing. So Murray got a real bolt of energy to be in that game. He was sort of in a situation where there was no pressure on him. He could come out on the road. Everyone's going to be booing him. And he just let loose. That was the best game Murray's played the entire playoffs. In 8 games, Murray is shooting 39% from the field. This year in the playoffs. He's shooting 29% from 3. Like, he's not been good. And the thing is, it seemed like he's been great because he hit those 2 shots against the Lakers. Those 2 game winners. Like, he wasn't even very good in the Lakers series. And Erik, they have so much less defensively to throw at Murray than a team like the Wolves does with all the size that they have. I think that you got the really good Murray game last time. I think we're going to see more likely what we saw in the first couple games of the series where he's struggling to score. The size is hurting him. This crowd is going to get up today. The crowd didn't even get a chance to get in the game last time, right? Yeah. I think they didn't really even get a chance at all. This is the biggest game. Honestly, is this the biggest game in the history of their franchise? Like, right now, for where they are, right? They've been to a conference final before, but as far as this team really looking like they have a chance to win the title right now, right? With the way that everybody else is looking, like, they win this game, they get up 3-1. They put that series away basically. And I think they're favored over whoever. If they win, they're favored over Dallas or OKC, right? Minnesota in the next round.
For sure.
Like, just the way they're playing. And they're favored over anybody but Boston coming out of the East. And I would absolutely pick them against Boston. Like, they're playing better than Boston is right now. So, I mean, this is as big of a game as possible for their franchise. And you know what's going to happen today? It's going to be Ant. He's going to be the guy that helps lead them there. I went Ant over the 28.5 points. I went Murray under his point total, which is 21.5. That's actually minus 102 for Murray. Oh. So for under 21.5. So we're actually getting like really nice value there. Joker is an OG. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree that he will get them another ship, but it may not be this year. It may be in a different a different run. We talk about it all the time, Erik. It's so hard to win back to back because everybody else is hungrier than you that second year that you've come back and, you're a little more tired. You're a little more banged up. We're seeing it right now. Denver had none of this last year. They didn't have any Murray is hurt through the playoffs. They didn't have any of that. Right. Have we had the game where Edwards looked bad? Well, I think that was the last game. I'm thinking that was his last game where he looked really flat, I think was the way he was describing himself. So yeah, they go really as he goes, Erik. So for me, I had my 3 plays in this game. Anything else you want to mention here?
No, I mean, definitely, there is one comment about future. If you do think the Nuggets are going to win this game, you should definitely bet them on the
right
future
now.
market. Because that price is going to decrease. I was looking at they were 60-1 going into the last game. So I mean, if they do win this game, this is going to drop a little bit. I mean, Minnesota is an insanely young team. How are they going to kind of react to having that pressure on him and everything. So yeah, I have no idea what to do. I'm just going to sit out. I'm just going to sit back and watch.
That's what's great. You know what? We both did that on one of these games today, right? Where we can't get a feel for it. And that hopefully, win or lose, that will show some of you out there that are watching and listening. Just don't feel forced. Football games, especially, it happens where, it's like those first couple Sundays, you want to play every game, right? There's 16 of them. You feel excited. You want to play every game. And on these days when there's a couple playoff games, you feel like you want to play both of these basketball games. Wait, maybe then something will happen during the game that will change your handicap, change the way that you perceive the game. Somebody gets hurt. You're watching something. Somebody gets in foul trouble. Then you could play live. Just don't ever feel like you have to play every game, every spot, everything. I think we got through most of these. So here's the question, and the Nuggets turn it on. Do you feel that way? Yeah, I mean, if you feel that way, you absolutely make a play like that on them because they win this game, they got the home court right back, and they're going to be favored over everybody else, right? You have to just think about it like that from a value-based standpoint. Yeah, Murray was locked in, man. The one thing about him that I will say, he is one of those types of guys that can have a bad game, and then the last 2 minutes of the game, he'll make some big shots. Like, he really is one of the bigger gamers I can remember, Erik, for a guy he's always a good player, but he levels himself up so much in the big moments and in big games. It's really hard for me to compare him to other guys that I can remember. Like, he's not even an all-star player during the regular season. I mean, he's good, but he's not quite as good as a lot of the guys in front of him. Yet in the big moments, he gets better. And there's something to be said for that. It's a way that you're made, like your makeup is, right? Some guys are the opposite. I'm sure you as a coach, you probably know some of your kids that you're like, nah, I don't want that guy taking the last shot. As a coach, right? I had a kid when I was coaching soccer. This kid was ambidextrous. He was fantastic. He could left-footed, right-footed. He played center midfield for us. Any position you want. Every player on the team would say Jason was our best player. But if there was a PK, every player on the team would say, Coach, don't let Jason take it. Because there was something about it. The kid would get up there and he would get in his head and whatever. And him and I, it was funny. We would start to joke about it afterwards, and then I think he kind of like, it became a joke. And then he got a lot looser from it.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing a player quite like Murray, man. And I do like to give guys credit for that because so many guys go the other way. We saw it with D'Angelo some moments, right? Where, or how many players like Malik Beasley was one last year for the Lakers and he hurt, I think, the Buck. You see these guys who are like great shooters and great players, and then they tighten up so much in the playoffs. It's amazing and impressive to me when somebody else does it the other way, even when he's killing my team repeatedly. I mean, I can only say it now about a week or two after, Erik, because I've had the time to reflect.
How can I word this? He's a phenomenal shooter. And I think he turns it on in the playoffs. I mean, I really think Denver goes through the motions a lot. And I heard a thing. He was hurt, not this year, the year before.
Yeah.
And this guy's comment I was talking to, he thinks Denver's window's already closed. He thinks, he said, with the way the NBA is now, you make it to a conference championship, you make it to a final, and then you get old and you just fall off.
Well, look at the Thunder and the OKC right now, right? Yeah. You feel like those two teams in the West are the teams that are the young up-and-coming teams, and we're not even talking about a team with Luka and Kyrie. Like, that's not an old team, a team led by Luka, So you feel this youth really happening, man. It's so quick, Erik. It's so quick. You snap your fingers, and then boom, all of a sudden you snap your fingers, and if Denver wins today, they're right back there. It's 2-2, and you feel like being down 2-0 was a year ago.
Like a million miles ago.
So, Erik, buddy, good luck to you in all of your plays today. Let's talk about some parlay play before we get out of here. For anyone who's looking for some action, this is the place you have to go. Parlayplay.io. Use the promo code NFL Betting Blitz. You can put together props. You can play these things legally in places where you can't wager legally as long as you're parlaying them. Erik, how are you getting involved today?
I'm going big, man. I did the DiVincenzo under points, Alexander Walker over points, rebounds, and assists, and Naz Reid over the 10.5 points.
I got my 2 parlay prop. I went Ant over and I went Murray under. Those are my 2 plays for today. So Erik, as we get set up for another week of NBA, both of these series today that are tied to, or that are at 2 games to 1, we'll know if they're tied 2-2 or up 3-1. On Monday, we'll have Boston at Cleveland, game 4. Boston's up 2-1 there. We'll have OKC at Dallas, game 4. Dallas is up 2-1 there. So 2 more games to discuss tomorrow on Monday. We will have our show stream at 6 p.m. Eastern time. We won't be live, though. Erik and I will be recording the show a little bit earlier in the day. So we'll be back tomorrow to help you out with the NBA games for Monday. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here, buddy?
No, looking forward to today's action. Hopefully we get some good games.
Thanks again to I Hate the Lakers, Let's Make Some Money, Sports Facts, Bobby Thomas, all of you out there that have been watching and hanging out with us. We wish you the best of luck on this Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. I'm very, very lucky, Erik. I think for a lot of us watching these shows and involved in these shows, we probably have moms and girlfriends or wives that are very understanding, very patient for a lot of us that are gamblers and that are in this world of gambling where we have some highs and some lows and lows. I'll have some great days, man, where I am like on cloud 9, and then some other days where you're struggling, and I know I'm not always the easiest person to be around 24/7 when you work that way and when you're in this industry. So I think for a lot of us, make sure you're very nice to your moms and your significant others today, because they're the ones that really help us out and help us do what we do. Good luck, everyone. Erik and I will be back tomorrow talking some NBA Monday with you right here on Fast Break Bets.